My name is Tyler, and this happened 3 years ago when I was working the overnight shift at a gas station off a long, empty stretch of highway in northern Texas. If you've never worked nights at a gas station, you don't understand how unnatural the silence becomes after 1 a.m. It's not just quiet. It feels abandoned, like the world outside the glass windows has stopped existing. The parking lot turns into a flat ocean of concrete under harsh white lights. Beyond that, nothing, just darkness swallowing the highway whole. Inside, the fluorescent lights hum constantly, the refrigerators buzz. The coffee machine clicks every few minutes like it's reminding you it's still alive. When you're alone in a place like that, every tiny sound feels amplified. Every creak, every shift of air, even your own breathing starts to sound too loud. It was 2:17 a.m. when the front door slid open. I remember the exact time because I had just checked the clock, counting down the hours left of my shift. The chime rang out, cheerful and completely out of place in the stillness. A man stepped inside. At first glance, he looked normal enough. Jeans, dark jacket, work boots, mid-30s maybe. His head was slightly lowered as he walked in. Then he moved under the lights, and that's when my throat tightened. His clothes were soaked, not rain-soaked, not damp, soaked in something darker. The fabric clung to him heavily, like it had absorbed too much. There were streaks of it down his sleeves, across his chest, dripping faintly from the cuff of his jacket. It had a thickness to it, a weight, wet, sticky, under the fluorescent lights. It had a dark shine. My brain tried to rationalize it instantly. Oil, transmission fluid, something from a car. But then the smell reached me, metallic, warm, sharp enough that I could taste it in the back of my throat. He walked slowly down aisle 1. Each step made a faint sound against tile, not quite a splash, but not dry either. A soft, tacky peel as his boots lifted. He stopped halfway down the aisle. He wasn't looking at the snacks. He wasn't reaching for anything. He just stood there, completely still, facing the shelves, breathing. Slow, deep, and heavy. I could hear it clearly from behind the counter, like he had just run a mile, or like he was trying to steady himself. The air in the store felt thicker, harder to breathe. I told myself maybe he was hurt. Maybe he needed help. Maybe this was something explainable. Then he turned his head slightly, and I saw it clearly. It wasn't oil. It wasn't car fluid. It was blood, dark and dried around his collar, still wet and glistening on his hands. There were thin trails running down his neck, and in his hair, there were small pale fragments tangled near his temple. Tiny pieces of something that didn't belong there. Something that made my stomach drop so violently I thought I might pass out. He walked to the cooler, opened it slowly. The bright white light from inside illuminated his face fully for the first time. His expression was calm, too calm. No panic, no fear, no confusion, just stillness. He grabbed a bottle of water and shut the cooler door gently. When he stepped up to the counter, the smell intensified. It was overwhelming now. Up close, I could see his hands trembling slightly, not with fear, but with exhaustion. I rang up the bottle without saying a word. My fingers were shaking so badly, I fumbled the scanner twice. He stared at me the entire time, unblinking. His eyes were bloodshot, but not wild. They were focused, almost curious. Then he leaned slightly closer, close enough that I could hear the faint wet shift of his jacket as it moved. And he said quietly, "It's not mine." 4 words, soft, flat, almost reassuring, like that was supposed to make it better. I didn't ask anything, didn't nod, didn't respond. I couldn't. He placed crumpled bills on the counter. The edges were stained. He left the change where it fell. Then he turned and walked toward the door. The chime rang again as he stepped out into the empty parking lot. I watched him through the glass. He didn't run. He didn't look back. He just walked calmly into the darkness beyond the lights. And then he was gone. The second the door shut I locked it. My hands were slick with sweat as I grabbed the phone and called 911. My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. While I was explaining what happened, I heard it, the chime. Again, clear, loud, right behind me. I slowly turned toward the door. It was closed, still locked, no one there. The parking lot was empty, but on the tile floor near the entrance, there were wet footprints, fresh, dark, leading from the door, back inside, one by one, heavy boot prints. They trailed halfway down aisle 1 and stopped right where he had been standing before. The dispatcher kept asking me if the man had returned. I couldn't answer because there was no one there, but the footprints were real. I could see them. I could smell them, and the air in that aisle felt colder than the rest of the store. Police arrived within minutes. They searched everywhere. Bathroom, storage room, outside dumpsters, the highway, nothing. When they reviewed the security footage, my stomach dropped again. The cameras showed him entering at 2:17 a.m. They showed him leaving. But when I heard the second chime, the door never opened on camera. It stayed closed the entire time. No movement, no figure, nothing. But on the footage, faint dark marks began appearing on the tile one after another, forming the exact same trail of footprints I saw in real life. The officers didn't say much after that. About 6 miles down the highway, they found a crashed car in a ditch. Windshield shattered, interior covered in blood, driver's side door open. No body. They never found him. No hospital reports. No missing persons that matched. Nothing. But sometimes, late at night, when the store gets quiet and the refrigerators hum just a little too loud, I still think I hear it. From behind aisle 1, slow, heavy, breathing, right over my shoulder. I was working the overnight shift at a 24-hour gas station in rural Georgia, just off a two-lane road surrounded by trees that seemed to swallow sound after midnight. The building was old, built sometime in the 70s, the kind of place with faded linoleum floors, humming fluorescent lights, and dark with paneling in the back office that always made it feel smaller than it was. The restroom hallway was narrow and slightly crooked, like the foundation had shifted over time. I had worked there for almost a year. I was used to strange little things. Lights flickering for no reason. The soda fountain turning on by itself for half a second. Items sliding off shelves when no one was nearby. The bathroom sink occasionally dripping even when the handle was turned tight. The owner brushed it off as old wiring and cheap plumbing. But I always said the restroom felt different. Heavier. Like the air inside, it was thicker than everywhere else. It was around 3:40 a.m. when the woman came in. The door chimed softly, echoing in the empty store. I looked up from her phone. A young woman stood just inside the entrance. She was thin, pale, wearing a light-colored dress that looked slightly outdated, like something from another decade. Her hair hung straight and flat against her shoulders. She didn't browse. Didn't look around. She just walked straight to the counter. Her movements were slow, almost delayed, like she wasn't fully connected to her body. "Bathroom key, please," she said quietly. Her voice sounded distant, not soft, not weak, just far away. I reached under the counter and handed her the heavy metal key attached to a wooden block. Our fingers brushed for a split second. Elle said later that her hand felt ice cold. Not cool cold, like touching metal left outside in winter. The woman didn't smile, didn't thank me. She just turned and walked down the narrow hallway toward the restroom. The hallway light flickered once as she passed under it. Then everything went still again. 5 minutes passed. 10 minutes. 15 minutes. I started to feel uneasy. No toilet flush. No sink running. No movement. Just silence. The kind of silence that feels deliberate. At 20 minutes, I grabbed a flashlight and walked down the hallway. Each step echoed slightly off the tile walls. I knocked gently on the bathroom door. "Ma'am," No response. I pressed my ear against the door. Nothing. No shuffling. No breathing. No movement. Just silence. Her stomach twisted. She unlocked the door slowly and pushed it open. The bathroom was empty. Completely. One stall. Door hanging slightly open. No feet visible underneath. The sink was dripping. The sound echoed unnaturally loud in the small room. I stepped inside, my heart pounding harder. With every step, there was no window, no vent large enough for anyone to crawl through, no second exit. The woman was gone, but the air felt wrong, colder than the hallway, and there was a faint smell, something metallic mixed with dampness. I turned off the dripping sink and stared at a reflection in the mirror above it. Her face looked pale under the fluorescent light, eyes wide, breathing shallow. I told myself the woman must have slipped out quietly while I wasn't paying attention. Maybe I missed her walking past the counter. Maybe she had imagined the cold touch. Maybe she was just tired. I turned to leave. That's when I noticed something in the mirror. Behind me, standing inside the stall, the woman, but something about her was wrong. Her skin was too pale, almost gray. Her eyes looked too dark, as if the pupils had swallowed everything else, and she wasn't blinking. I froze. Her reflection stood in front of the sink, but behind her reflection, the stall door was now fully closed, and the woman was visible through the small gap above it, just standing there, watching. My breathing grew louder in my own ears. Slowly I turned around. The stall was empty, door still slightly open like before. No one inside. I swallowed hard. My hands were shaking. I forced myself to look back at the mirror. The woman was still there, clearer now, closer, standing directly behind my reflection. But I felt nothing behind me. No presence, no movement, just empty air. The woman in the mirror tilted her head slightly. Her neck bent just a little too far, too slowly. Her lips stretched into a smile. Not wide, not exaggerated, just enough to show teeth. But she wasn't smiling. Her reflection looked terrified. The woman's reflection looked pleased. I tried to step forward, but my legs felt heavy, like something was holding me in place. In the mirror, the woman slowly lifted her hand. Her movements were stiff and unnatural, like joints bending the wrong way. She raised her palm and pressed it flat against the inside of the mirror. A dark handprint spread across the glass from the other side. I screamed and spun around. No one there. She looked back at the mirror. The woman's face was now inches from the glass. Eyes wide, unblinking, the smile gone, replaced with something empty. Then the fluorescent lights began to flicker violently, buzzing, popping. The room plunged into darkness. I could hear my own breathing, fast, panicked, and then another sound. The light snapped back on. The mirror was cracked, not from the outside, from the inside. Fracture lines spreading outward like something had struck it trying to break free. The sink was running again, full blast, water spilling over the edge onto the floor. And on the mirror, there was a faint handprint from the inside. I ran out of the bathroom and down the hallway, nearly slipping on the tile. I grabbed the store phone and called the owner, shaking so badly I could barely speak. When he arrived, he reviewed the security footage. The cameras showed the woman entering the store at 3:40 a.m. They showed Rachel handing over the key. They showed the woman walking down the hallway, but they never showed her coming back out. And when Rachel entered the restroom 20 minutes later, the footage showed her standing alone in the bathroom, talking, like she was listening to someone, but there was no one else there. No second figure, no shadow, nothing. The owner went quiet after that. That's when he finally told her. In 1998, a young woman had been murdered in that restroom. Her body was found in the stall. The case was never fully solved. And according to the old reports, when they found her, one detail stood out. Her hand was pressed flat against a mirror, as if she had been trying to reach through it. Rachel quit that night. To this day, she refuses to look at mirrors in public restrooms after 3 a.m. because sometimes, when a room is quiet enough, your reflection might not be alone. This happened to Marcus 8 months ago. He was 32, worked long shifts in commercial construction, and that particular night had pushed nearly 14 hours pouring concrete under floodlights. By the time he left the site, his arms felt like dead weight, and his eyes burned every time he blinked. It was close to 11 p.m. when he pulled into a small gas station just off the highway. Not a big one. 2 pumps, flickering canopy lights, a vending machine humming near the entrance. The store itself looked closed, but the parking lot lights were still on. He didn't go inside. He just needed an hour of sleep before finishing the drive home. Marcus parked in the far corner of the lot, away from the pumps. He liked backing his truck in so he could see everything in front of him. Old habit. Engine off, doors locked, windows cracked slightly. The night air was cool and still. No wind, no passing cars. Just a faint hum of distant highway traffic. He glanced once in his side mirrors out of habit. Empty lot, empty darkness beyond the lights. He reclined his seat and passed out almost instantly. An hour later, his phone alarm vibrated against the dashboard. He jerked awake. For a few seconds, he didn't know where he was. The lot was completely empty. The canopy lights flickered faintly overhead. He checked the time, 12:07 a.m. He stretched, started the engine, and pulled out of the gas station without thinking twice. If someone had been walking through that lot while he slept, he never saw them. About 20 minutes into the drive, the highway was nearly deserted. Long stretches of dark road, trees lining both sides, headlights carving a narrow tunnel through blackness. That's when he heard it, a faint shifting sound. Behind him, in the truck bed, it was subtle at first, like something sliding slightly when he changed lanes. He frowned. Probably his toolboxes. He'd thrown a few loose pieces of equipment back there before leaving the job site. He turned the radio down a notch. The sound came again, a heavier shift. Then, thud. It sounded weighted, like something organic hitting metal. Marcus felt a slow chill creep up his spine. He told himself it was nothing. He adjusted his mirror slightly to glance at the truck bed, too dark to see clearly. Just shadows. Then it happened again. Thud. Closer this time. Followed by something that made his stomach drop. A scraping noise. Slow. Deliberate. Like something dragging across the ridged metal floor of the truck bed. Marcus turned the radio off completely. The cab went silent. And in that silence, he heard it. A soft footstep. Right behind him. On metal. He gripped the steering wheel tighter. Then something slammed hard against the back window. The entire cab shook. Marcus flinched violently, the truck swerving slightly before he corrected it. His heart began hammering in his chest, so hard it felt painful. Slowly, almost against his own will, he looked into the rear-view mirror and saw a face, pressed flat against the back glass. A man standing in the truck bed, smiling. His eyes were wide, unblinking. His breath fogged the window in short bursts. One hand gripped the edge of the truck bed for balance. The other was holding one of Marcus's tools, a heavy framing hammer. Marcus felt pure, electric panic surge through him. The man tilted his head slightly, still smiling. Then he raised the hammer and slammed it into the glass. Crack! The divider window splintered instantly, spiderweb fractures. Marcus yelled and swerved violently, tires screeching as he nearly lost control. Another slam. Crack. The glass bowed inward slightly. The man's smile didn't change. He hit again, and again, each impact louder, more desperate. Marcus could see tiny shards beginning to break loose near the edges. He didn't think. He just slammed on the brakes. The truck fishtailed slightly before coming to a harsh stop in the middle of the dark highway. The man in the back nearly lost his footing, For a split second, their eyes locked through the cracked glass, and Marcus swore he saw something in them. Not anger, not fear, excitement. Then the man jumped. He vaulted off the truck bed and disappeared into the tree line along the side of the road, just vanished into blackness. Marcus sat frozen behind the wheel, shaking violently. His ears rang. His hands were numb. He locked the doors again, even though they were already locked. After a full minute of silence, he forced himself to step out of the truck. The night felt different now. Too quiet. The trees stood motionless. No rustling, no footsteps, no sign of anyone. He grabbed his phone flashlight and slowly walked to the back of the truck. The bed was disturbed, tools scattered, one toolbox open, but something else was there, something that hadn't been there before. In the corner of the truck bed sat a small black trash bag, tied tightly at the top. It wasn't his. He was sure of that. He never used small bags like that. He approached slowly, and that's when he smelled it. Rot, sweet and sickening. Heavy, the kind of smell that hits your brain before you can process it. Marcus gagged immediately. His heart started racing again. For a split second, he considered opening it, just to see, just to understand. But something in his gut screamed not to. Instead, he grabbed it carefully by the knot and hurled it as far as he could into the trees. It landed somewhere in the darkness with a dull, soft thud. He got back in the truck and drove. Didn't stop. Didn't look back. The next day, local news reported something that made his blood run cold. Human remains had been discovered along that same stretch of highway, found by a road maintenance worker. Police were looking for a suspect seen near a gas station in the area around 11 p.m. Surveillance footage showed a man pacing near parked vehicles. Marcus never went to the police. He told himself he had no proof, no clear description, no license plate, just a face, a smile, and cracked glass. But sometimes, when he checks his rear-view mirror at night, he swears he sees fog on the inside of the back window, like someone breathing from behind him. This final story happened in a desert town in Nevada, not the Vegas side, the empty side, the kind of place where highways stretch for miles without a single passing car, where the desert feels endless and the night feels heavier than it should. A gas station sat alone along a long stretch of road. No houses, no buildings, no streetlights, just sand, rock, and darkness pressing in from every direction. Around 2 a.m., a man named Daniel was driving through after a long business trip. He'd been on the road for hours, exhausted, low on gas, when he saw in the distance a flickering sign. The canopy lights were on. The store windows were glowing. Relief washed over him. He pulled in. Gravel crunched under his tires. The air was cold and unnaturally still. No wind, no insects, no distant highway noise. Just silence. He stepped out and immediately noticed something strange. There was no electrical hum, no buzzing lights, no clicking pumps. The entire place felt muted. Inside, the bell above the door didn't ring. Behind the counter stood an older clerk. Gray hair, pale skin, thin lips. He didn't greet Daniel, just watched him. Daniel grabbed a bottle of water and approached. Up close, the man's face looked drained of color. His eyes didn't blink. Daniel placed cash on the counter. The clerk nodded slowly and reached for it, his movement stiff, unnatural. When their fingers brushed, his hand was ice cold. Not cool, cold, like stone at night. Daniel left quickly. At the pump, the machine activated silently. No beeping, just numbers changing in complete quiet. The darkness around the station felt heavier now. Halfway through pumping, Daniel glanced toward the store. The clerk was gone. The store looked empty. He finished and walked back toward the entrance. As he reached for the handle, he noticed something that made his stomach drop. There was no reflection in the glass. Not of himself, not of the inside, just darkness. He stepped back inside. The air felt colder. The lights flickered faintly. The counter was empty. No clerk. No movement. "Hello," he called. His voice was swallowed by the space. He walked behind the counter. There was no back office, just a blank wall and dust. Thick dust coated the countertop, layered across the register like it hadn't been touched in years. The register was unplugged, its cord brittle and coiled behind it. His heart pounded. The shelves were covered in dust too, products faded and sun-bleached. The lights flickered violently. He felt it then, a presence behind him, cold air brushing his neck. He turned, no one there, but in the reflection of the cooler door, just for a split second, he saw a shape standing where the clerk had been, watching him. The lights flared once, then everything went black. The pump shut off mid-transaction with a metallic clunk. Daniel ran, out the door, into his car. Gravel sprayed as he sped away. In his rear-view mirror, the building looked darker than the desert itself, like a hole cut into reality. The next morning, he told a friend who lived nearby. "That station," his friend said quietly, "it closed 5 years ago. The night clerk was shot during a robbery. No one bought the property after that. No electricity, no working pumps, nothing." Daniel checked his wallet. The receipt he remembered saving wasn't there. Later that week, he checked his bank statement. No charge for gas, but his tank had been full. To this day, he refuses to drive through that stretch in Nevada at night, because sometimes when a place is left alone long enough, something else keeps it open.